Some of the content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, I'm going to talk about the Skinwalker Ranch, and John, you may have heard of this before.
I have only heard the name.
Well, it was mentioned on Coast to Coast. They used to do interviews, and it was a pretty big deal for a while. Kind of died off a little bit, but anyway. So it's a property of 480 acres in Utah. It's got a ranch on it used for cattle farming. It's been a hotbed for UFO and paranormal activity for years. And even before like modern times, the Native Americans that lived on the land, which are the Ute Indians, believe it to be cursed. Things have actually been documented here as early as 1951, when a school teacher named Junior Hicks witnessed a UFO cross the sky in broad daylight. And it was him and his entire class that actually saw this happen. Hicks began documenting all the events that would happen like in and around the area.
Yeah.
He has actually documented over 400 cases of UFO and paranormal activity spanning about 5 decades.
Is this near anything military? You get?
I'm kind of going to get to that later.
Okay. Sorry.
But to answer your question, it's not directly like next to a base or anything like that. Between the 60s and 70s, Junior actually mentioned that they were probably the largest and most busiest area in the world for any type of UFO activity. So like I said, 60s and 70s going on in this area. The local Native Americans believe that the land is occupied by a skinwalker, which is basically, depending on how you look at it, it's either a witch that can take the form of an animal.
Shapeshifter.
Yeah, it's a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
But there's like, some people believe it's a spirit. Some people believe it's like a witch doctor kind of deal, just depending on which type of lore you're actually reading. But the local Native Americans are actually forbidden to set foot on that land. That's how strongly they believe in it. Now, between the time it was actually owned up until it went vacant, because the property actually sat vacant from the late 70s until the early 90s, not much is really known about the ranch or its owners. Just like I said, the activity was documented, but nobody really knows what went on there or who owned it. So Terry and Gwen Sherman actually bought the property in 1994 with the intention of cattle farming. He was a pretty big deal in this. When they first walked through the house, they noticed that there were deadbolts on both sides of all the doors. All the windows were deadbolted, even the kitchen cabinets, and there were iron stakes with chains at either side of the house. They don't know whether it was to keep something at bay or to somehow solidify the exterior of the house, because obviously there was no one there to explain any of that. All of the stuff that they witnessed was everything from UFOs, glowing orbs. They would hear voices from above, cattle mutilations, giant bird sightings, Bigfoot sightings, skinwalker sightings, portals opening and closing with entities that were allegedly seen, leaving or coming in. You get the idea. The family actually got so scared that they all used to sleep together on the floor in the front room of the house because they didn't want to be alone. Their kids went from being honor students to just barely getting by because they were so stressed out. Gwen actually lost her job because of all the, for lack of a better term, water cooler talk, just all the rumors that were spread about her. And then when she would bring up anything that would go on, nobody would believe her. So then she just gets labeled as being crazy. They only lasted 2 years at the property before they actually had enough and ended up selling the property to a man named Robert Bigelow, who was a billionaire and actually started the Budget Suites Hotel.
Okay.
But when he heard about what was going on here, all the paranormal stuff, he's a avid believer in anything extraterrestrial, UFO related. So he actually bought the land for the sole purpose of researching all the paranormal activity that's going on there. He started something called the National Institute for Discovery Science. And like I said, the whole purpose of this guy being there was just he wanted to document and research everything that was going on. That was in 1996. They had scientists, security, everything being there full time. And the Shermans actually were convinced to stay on a couple more years since they knew the layout of the land and everything that was going on.
I was wondering what happened to them post selling
They
it.
kind of wanted to have them there to help out.
Okay.
So who did they buy it from? The Shermans?
Well, it actually sat vacant.
Really?
So
nobody owned it, so they just more or less just kind of moved into it.
Well, they had to pay it, so I'm assuming they paid the state.
Maybe the state owned it.
Yeah,
or
I'm not sure.
County or something.
I think at that
bought
point,
in an auction or something like that.
Yeah, I think at that point,
Yeah.
from it being vacant, it would just become abandoned, and then the state would probably take ownership.
Gotcha.
Or if the bank owned it prior to,
That's possible. And
I'm not really sure.
like he said,
on all that.
auction. Okay.
As of right now, the NIDS still owns the ranch, which is Robert Bigelow's company.
Mhm.
But it's still fenced, guarded, and under 24/7 surveillance right now. You're not even allowed to go there. There's reports of people being threatened to being shot on sight. So there's definitely something going on.
Coming up on the next episode of Type 3 TV.
This photo from it right here.
So this photo is from it. There's actually a website dedicated just to the ranch.
Shit.
That's kind of what I was saying. Well, there's so much going on here, and this place is just so full of lore and alleged activity.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. If you like what you saw, please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. I'm John Budzinski. From The Mistake on the Lake, this is Type 3 TV. Over and out.